great. Well, your life story, I think, is a perfect example of the free market system, the American dream. And I know you were telling me a few minutes ago earlier about it. Would you mind kind of telling the story of how you were working as a janitor at one time and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, no problem. That's why I'm passionate about it, because I've lived the American dream, and with the hardships and the struggles, but also with the rewards.
Okay. Well, how did it all start?
Well, my parents did me a huge favor. They got me a job working as a janitor just before my 9th grade year. And it was 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, which, you know, kids are used to playing in the summer. And I'm there washing.
You're 15 years old, right?
Yeah, I was washing walls, scraping gum off the bottom of desks. I hated it. It was like work, you know? And I remember one morning distinctly sitting around in the office with the other kids that were working there and the janitors, and I looked, and there were 3 janitors. One had been there for 11 years, the other for 7 years, and the other for 4 years. And I thought, I can barely make it through the summer. What do I need to do to not have to do this the rest of my life? You know what I mean? And it was shortly after that we went on a family vacation and visited my sister and her husband. And my brother-in-law was working as a computer programmer, and he created this game. And we played it, and it was really fun. And he showed me the code, and we changed some things, and it was really cool. And I thought, they pay you to do this? How do I sign up for this? Because I hate the janitor thing, you know what I mean? Anyways, and so he gave me books, and I read them, and I was just, you know, just really interested in it. And I learned to program computers. And in fact, by my senior year in high school, I created an application that this company in Ann Arbor picked up and sold for $125 each. I got a 10% royalty for every one that was sold. And it worked out really well. In fact, when I went on my mission for my church, I was one of the only missionaries paying tithing because I was getting these quarterly royalty checks, you know. And so when I got off my mission, I went back to school at BYU studying computer science. And I just kept thinking, you know, if 10% was good, 100% would be better. You know, I had a job working at IBM. I was making like $13.40 an hour as a programmer. I really enjoyed it, but I just kept thinking, what could I create on my own, you know? And so my brother-in-law and I, the same brother-in-law, we were brainstorming all kinds of high-tech software ideas of things I could make, you know. When my sister finally came in and said, what we really need is this, and she described a need she had with regard to organizing recipes and making menus and grocery shopping lists and analyzing nutrition and that sort of thing. And I was intrigued by the idea, so I created this product and started selling it in the region here. But it was, and the revenue from it was good. In fact, I quit my job at IBM, and it worked out great. But then I got married, and then we had a kid. And then the costs went up, and pretty soon we had a real hard time making ends meet. And in fact, I borrowed some money from my dad, and then I borrowed a little bit more. And then I borrowed, when I had finally borrowed $35,000, he said, you know, that's where I draw the line. I'm not taking any more chances on this, you know. My mom cornered me one Christmas and said, so why don't you go get a job? You know, I had graduated from BYU 2 years before, and we'd just been struggling, you know. And it's hard when people don't believe in you. But when your own mother says, you know, why don't you you got to give up this dream you've got, you know what I mean? Because it's going nowhere, you know. But I managed to stick it out. In fact, once Dad cut off any kind of loans, he started using this credit card, and it had a $15,000 limit on it, okay? Well, after a little while, we maxed it out. And I remember distinctly my wife went to go grocery shopping one Thursday morning. And I said, you can't go, because Visa's going to say no. You know, we got nothing left. And we can't borrow from anybody. And she said, well, what do we do? And I said, honestly, I don't know. But why don't we do this? Let's start a special fast, and let's say a prayer and see if God will help us. And it wasn't the usual, we didn't wait till Sunday, and we had already eaten breakfast, and we just stopped eating, and we started praying, you know. And so anyways, the amazing thing is by that afternoon, I got a phone call from a buddy of mine from Boston. Now, I hadn't talked to him for 3 years. I didn't even know that he had moved to Boston. And he called out of the blue, and he said, hey, I'm doing this project with US Robotics, and I've been localizing these documentations, but now they need software, and I need a programmer, and I thought of you. And I said, well, tell me about the project. So he told me about it. I said, yeah, I can help you with that. I had no idea if I could or not. But he said, well, how much, what are we looking at? How soon can you? I said, it'll be 6 weeks, and it'll cost $6,000. He said, that sounds great. I'm going to overnight a check for half up front. You're going to get a check tomorrow in the mail for $3,000. Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't believe it. I just hung up the phone. I said, sweetie, you're not going to believe this, but there's a check for $3,000 coming tomorrow, you know. Anyways, it was a real miracle. It was a real blessing. In fact, we weren't even sure if we should keep fasting because you're like, are we saying that? We didn't recognize that was just a huge blessing. So anyways, bottom line though is we managed to make it through that, and then we ended up shortly after that getting a chance in Sam's Club, and we got in to do a test in 10 clubs, and it worked out well. And then pretty soon the buyer expanded to all clubs nationwide, and in 4 months we sold 40,000 copies of my software. It just really took off. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, paid dad off, paid off Visa, bought some land in Alpine, you know. And anyways, it was a huge blessing. And since then we've been able to grow the business and have great success. And so, you know, it was a great experience for me. And anyways, and I'm a believer now in the American dream.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And it all sort of got started with your brother-in-law inspiring you, showing you that you could make money. So if that hadn't happened, that might be a completely different story.
I did a lot of things. I mean, I always had like a lemonade stand, and I was kind of entrepreneurial minded from the beginning, and I was always kind of, the wheels were turning, and I was thinking about stuff. In fact, I went to a class at BYU, and this professor gave this idea one time. And there were like 300 students in this lecture hall. He said, take water softener salt, for example. You know, there's a need there because these women can't really lift these big heavy bags into their car and then carry them down to the basement if someone were to start a service. So there's all these students there. Well, guess what? Out of all 300 of them, I was the only one that went home. And you know what I did? I made up these flyers, like right away. And I went around and I photocopied them. And I went around to these homes in this area of Orem that seemed wealthier because I thought maybe they're going to be able to afford it, you know. Anyways, I started taking orders. In fact, I went to deliver my first order. You're going to die when you hear this. I went to deliver my first order. I go to the door. I can remember I got a bag on this is before cell phones too, you know. The lady lets me in. Oh, she says, go ahead and go downstairs. She was on the phone, you know. And so I was like, oh, crap. So I went downstairs, and I got down there. I realized I'd never even seen a water softener. I had no idea what one even looked like. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I broke out in beads of sweat on my forehead. I was like, oh, my gosh. So I thought,
that's hilarious.
Anyways, I ended up figuring it out. But anyways, sometimes you just got to go for stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, that first lemonade stand, I mean, what